Alright, it is the 1st of October 2016. You guys know I'm throwing so many videos at you this month, so what's another one, right? We're sitting down to watch the horror that is Ghostbusters 2016. It's finally time to check this film out. For the record, in all seriousness, I've never had a problem with this film being made. It just wasn't one I don't think either of us were willing to pay to go and see. You know? Oh, well, you actually were you were thinking about it.
Yeah, because I like the actresses in it.
Right, yeah.
And if I look away from the fact that it's Ghostbusters, I think it will be a fun movie.
Yeah.
I just have to see it as something else than Ghostbusters.
Yeah, it just wasn't one that we were like, oh my god, we've got to go see it in the cinema. We were happy to wait for it to come out.
Yeah.
I think the controversy around it has been silly, but I definitely think, before we've seen it, they probably shouldn't have done it as a Ghostbusters film, because there were going to be those fans who were so hardcore to those original films that they weren't going to accept it as anything but a sequel. But I'm looking forward to checking it out. Today is our kind of little cheat day, so we got some crisps, and I've got a nice... For the second time today, which, you know, is not actually that much compared to what we used to have.
We could have 2 or 3 bags a weekend.
Yeah, and a nice lovely glass of sugar-free Coke, and a little tiny block of Maum. Some sweets.
I got my water!
Connie's got water, so let's see how bad this movie apparently is. Alright, we're about half an hour into the film. I'm not going to check in throughout, but I just had to say that if I was to put out my opinion of the first half hour of the film out there, and it was seen by enough people, I'd get crucified, because so far my main thought is, well, the men are funny. Because we got like Ed Begley Jr., who I love, Charles Dance, who I love, you know. It's funny just hearing Charles Dance say Reddit and reblogged.
I like, what's her name?
Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, I like her a lot, and I also like the other main woman, the blonde one.
Kristen Wiig, yeah.
The blonde one hasn't amused me yet at all.
The blonde girl is the one everyone raves about as being like the best thing about the film.
What?
Yeah.
Who is she?
I don't know. I don't know her name, but she kind of is the standout one everyone's talking about. Anyway, yeah, I like Kristen Wiig. So far, it's okay. As a movie, so far, it's okay. It's basically what I thought it was going to be. A typical 2010s comedy movie. You know, nothing more, nothing less.
With 80s effects.
It's just the fact that it's Ghostbusters, and they're sneaking in and snaking in all these references, some of which are cute, some of which are maybe, well, Connie's groaning at a lot of them. Couple of jokes that are like eye-rolly, but I have laughed a couple of times, you know. It's certainly not bad.
Some of them are very inappropriate, though.
Yeah, like, just a bit too overly sexual than... Well, I guess in the original...
Well, it's because women are supposed to be allowed to have sexual humor as well.
Yeah, right, I suppose. I was just going to say... that's not like the original Ghostbusters, but then again, in the original Ghostbusters, Dan Aykroyd does get a blowjob from a ghost, technically. So there is that. Yeah, he's dreaming about it, and his zipper's going down. Anyway.
Okay, I don't remember that.
Yeah, it's not as it's a bit more subtle, I suppose. I certainly didn't get the gag when I was a kid. And I have to mention, in the first like 5 minutes, there's this story that gets set up where they're like, oh yeah, there was this woman who murdered people, and this is her portrait and stuff, and it's a woman.
And the portrait looks just like in the second movie.
The portrait looked like the Vigo, the guy.
Isn't that in the second one?
Yeah, the villain from the second film. And Connie's like, oh, so they've made him a woman now. And then Connie said, I'm surprised
there are men in this movie at all.
Surprised there are men in this movie at all. She's allowed to say it. So that cracked me up. That cracked me up. And now Chris Hemsworth.
And now we have this, Chris Hemsworth, is that his name?
Yeah, Thor himself.
And he is, of course, sexualized.
Yeah.
Well, he is, because she's basically drooling at him.
Yeah.
She's like, you're hired, just because of his looks.
Right.
So they reverse the roles, which pisses me off. I'm sorry.
Whoa, wow.
Yeah, because it's such a big deal. I'm allowed to say it because I'm a woman, right?
Yeah, sure.
But why am I allowed to say it? Because I'm a woman. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. You know.
They just do everything that women have been complaining about guys doing. They do every single thing that they've been complaining about for years about guys doing.
Yeah, I got no problem with anything in this film. It's, you know... I just think...
No, it's fine. It's just that I just think it's hypocritical.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I get what you're trying to say. But yeah, so far it's enjoyable. Nothing more, nothing less. You know. So. Okay, just gotta say, there's a gag down in the subway. There's some guy with a spray can, And they're like, "Oh, have you seen a ghost?" "Yeah, yeah, I'll show you." And he starts spraying on the wall. And then they're like, "No, we don't want that." So he's like, "Okay." So he draws a big circle around it and a line through it. And it's like, no, not the logo. And it's the logo. It's the Ghostbusters logo. And then they're like, "Oh, that looks like a good logo." Wow, no, just too much. Too much. Piling on too much. Too much. Alright, we're done with the film.
And we know Chris Hemsworth cannot dance.
And we know that Chris Hemsworth cannot dance. It was fine. It was fine. If someone said it was a bad film, I wouldn't fight to defend that, you know. It felt, the editing was weird at times. Like, it just felt like, the weird cuts. It felt like they tried to trim the running time down, and you could tell that. Like, it just didn't feel like it was planned out properly, which is hard to explain. But it just felt like there were scenes where suddenly someone would be standing in a different part of the room instantaneously, so it felt like they just kind of cut a chunk of the scene out. Obviously, with the actresses in this film, there was probably a lot of improvising going on. There's one scene in particular which just felt like an improvised bit. It was pretty funny. And so, yeah, I mean, it's over 2 hours. It just felt a bit too long. The villain, didn't like him. Just very stock, just generic, you know. I mean, the actor, I don't think it was any fault of his own. It was just very generic, villainy stuff. You know. At the end was just a big hot CGI mess. It had its moment. The whole movie was just hit and miss. Like, every single one of the female Ghostbusters, you know, every single one of them, I thought had funny moments and had really unfunny moments. You know, I don't have a favorite character in this film, but I don't have a character in this film who I liked the least either. It was just very hit and miss. Like, even Chris Hemsworth, very funny at times, very unfunny at times. Like, the gag of him being this dumb guy just fell really flat sometimes, and then every now and again it would kind of be quite funny.
This credit sequence is amazing.
Yeah, there's some kind of funky credits going on. Any thoughts you want to add, kind of off camera, on the film?
I'm trying to pay attention to
Just trying to pay attention to the credits. That's really.
I also thought it was very hit and miss.
Very hit and miss.
Because parts of it was laugh out loud funny.
Yeah, there was one.
And then it was just groan
like,
wanting to punch your face kind of bad.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
Not like face palm, but like fist to your face.
Yes,
bad.
Worse than face palm, fist to face. Yeah.
And then the CGI I already knew.
Yeah.
Because people told me that it wasn't really that good.
It's
just a lot of just neon lights.
Yeah, just bright neon.
And smoke.
The ghosts were just, you know.
I don't even know. Some of the jokes were really funny. Some of them were just bleh.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just hit and miss. Like, it just, I don't know.
Like some of it was trying too hard and then failing.
And then just and then some of the references, like I think Jurassic World suffered from some of this. For me personally, just relying too much on the original. But in this case, it was just like they just way too much. There's a great gag in this film when they get to Times Square at the end where the big finale happens. One of the posters on the side, it's only there for a few seconds. It says, "That's one big," and then there's a picture of Twinkie. Or something like that, and it's basically the line from the original Ghostbusters, like, "That's a big Twinkie."
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was but I love that. It was a great little reference to the original, subtle, you know, hidden kind of on the left-hand side of the screen. But then you get Dan Aykroyd's cameo, where he comes in as a cab driver, and it started well when she's like, "There's ghosts everywhere," and he's like, "Oh no, that's just a Class 5 apparition," and that was funny. And then he drives off and he's like, "I ain't afraid of no ghost," and it's like, oh.
And she says that's a double negative.
Oh.
Just to even, like, yeah.
Oh, it's like because Bill Murray's cameo was not that funny. Didn't have any references to him being in the original at all. His cameo was just Bill Murray being in the movie to me. So it felt like they really needed to make it up with Dan Aykroyd's "I ain't afraid of no ghost."
I like the dancing scene.
The dancing scene, yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad.
It reminded me of Beetlejuice.
Reminded me of The Mask. You know, the scene where he's dancing with all the cops.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, reminded me of The Mask, the dancing scene. So, you know, it wasn't a terrible film. I don't know.
But you know why it reminded me of Beetlejuice, right? The table.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I think I'm gonna say it. This isn't a bad film, but I don't think it's a good film. Like, just
I feel
barely.
like it was 80-20 a little bit.
80-20, I don't know.
20% of it was really funny and great.
Yeah.
And 40% was good, and then the other 40 was like, just no.
Yeah, nothing about it was offensively bad to me. Nothing about it was like, oh no, they've ruined it. I do think they should have made this film a sequel. Hell, just call it Ghostbusters 3. I don't care. Because I would have preferred it to be a case of where... No, I would have preferred it to be a case of where the Ghostbusters had happened in this... I mean, it seemed like that's where they were going with the trailer. They were like, 30 years ago, these guys... You know, so I thought, oh, cool, so it's going to follow on from it. And maybe we'll see the original characters, you know, like Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, and Bill Murray as the original characters. I suppose you could say that it's better that they didn't do that, so that you don't kind of mess with that, but... I just think it would have been a better story if it was like some female scientists had become inspired by maybe this mythic tale of these Ghostbusters who at this point 30 years on maybe, oh, that's just a myth that never really happened. 30 years is kind of a decent amount of time to kind of write that off as something that didn't really happen, and then you could kind of build off that. But then you have these moments where the spray painting the logo is everywhere, and hell, the amount of Sony product placement in this feels like you got a camera recorder, Sony, laptop, Sony,
Oh, they have to do that.
I know they have to, but that just made me laugh.
Is there bloopers now? We gotta see that.
Oh, that's nice. It says for Harold Ramis at the end. Nice touch. Harold Ramis.
Sony, even bigger.
Oh yeah, that's a bit.
Be moved.
Wow. Okay, that's a bit. There was a title card that said for Harold Ramis, and then right after that was a massive Sony logo. Be moved.
Even bigger than.
That felt a bit like they were kind of cancelled each other out. We had Slimer. That was fine. Marshmallow Man, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I felt like that was just shoehorned in there. And there is an after credit scene, of course. There is. And the fire station. They had the fire. That was my favourite joke of the entire film. Right in the beginning, they're looking for a place. It's the fire station. We've been there, and it's the Ghostbusters fire station. They go inside. They're like, "Great, we'll take it." And the woman says, "Yeah, it's 21 grand a month."
And she says, "Fuck you."
Fuck you. And that best joke of the film. It was awesome. And then they just leave and they find another place. And I thought that was brilliant. That was a great way to it subverted the idea of going back to where the original was from. But then, of course, at the end of the film, they end up going there anyway. And I thought, you should have just left it at that. That was a good gag to kind of leave on. I guess we're now going to watch the after credits scene, which I doubt is going to change my opinion on the film, but let's see it and then we'll come back. Connie is currently face-palming at the after credits scene, and I'm almost inclined to join her. Yeah, there's sequel tease for Zool. Yeah, I'd love to see them turn that into a big CGI mess as well. The things about the original, and it's you have to compare it to the original. And then there's just watching this film, there'd be key beats which were from the original film, and I just start laughing because I was thinking about the original. Like when they first catch their first ghost and they walk outside and all the press are there. I was just remembering in my head the original where Bill Murray's like, "No job is too big, no fee is too big," and I'm just thinking of the good jokes from the original. Subtlety wasn't really at play here, and yeah, like I said, hit and miss with every single character. There was no character that I really, really loved. There was no character I really disliked. Each of them had their own hit and miss moments. It was kind of quite level in that fact, I think. Each of the Ghostbusters themselves. I liked the cameos from like Annie Potts and Sigourney Weaver at the end. That was nice. Good to see those guys in there, but that's pretty much about it, So there we go. It wasn't quite the horror of Ghostbusters that I thought it might be. But in all honesty, from everything I was expecting, from day one from this film, when it was announced, when the trailers came out, my reaction was, looks okay. Probably shouldn't have called it Ghostbusters because they're going to get all this hate, and they did, and you can really go into. I mean, it's a story unto itself at this point. The backlash from this film, I think, is ridiculous. People complaining that there were women in this film, utter bollocks. You can complain that it's a Ghostbusters film without the originals, but when people start saying that it's the women, that's ridiculous. And on the other side of the coin, James Rolfe, Cinemassacre, the angry video game nerd himself, made a video saying he's not going to watch this film because he knows he's not going to enjoy it, so he's not going to review it, he's not going to watch it. He said nothing about the fact that there are women in the film, and people jumped all over him. They wrote articles about how he's a misogynist and all that kind of stuff. This outrage culture that we're currently living in is just horrible. It really is. It just makes you really groan. and not as much as this film did. Yeah, a couple of groan-worthy moments in the film, but you know, otherwise it was alright. It was alright. It's I don't know. I just don't know. I'm going to wrap this up now because it's just such a blech kind of reaction to the film. If they made a sequel, I'd watch it. You know, I would. I wouldn't be excited for it. I wouldn't go to the cinema to see it, just like this one. But it was what it was. And yeah, I think it might have had a better success if it wasn't called Ghostbusters. But then again, if they were doing this story, people would just say, "Hey, this is like Ghostbusters." So it is what it is. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan, and it didn't really offend me. And I've said this, that, you know, these remakes, these reimaginings, these reboots, they don't really change that much. And I now have 0 minutes left on my thing, so I should probably wrap this up pretty quickly. But yeah, it doesn't bother me that much. It really doesn't. It was okay. It was okay. It wasn't bad. Wasn't good. It just was.
I am called King Computer.